The forest sector recorded significant growth in 2014, with production volumes increasing in the main product categories, an increase of 21% when compared to 2013, and a 38% increase in export earnings. This week on Dorado Shines, we will take a closer look at the Guyana Forestry Commission's operations and examine the achievements they made during 2014.
Guyana completed its fourth annual assessment of deforestation and forest degradation under the MRVS, or Monitoring, Reporting and Verification System, and we recorded a lower rate of deforestation.
Guyana further advanced its engagement with the European Union on the formulation of a voluntary partnership agreement in 2014. Focus was also placed on the development of the VPA objectives and structure.
We also fulfilled our 2014 deliverables under several bilateral and international agreements. For example, under the Guyana-Norway Agreement, the Forest Carbon Partnership Facility, and these included, amongst others, the successful formulation of the MRVS Roadmap 2, Phase 2 Roadmap, and this was due to the successful completion of the Roadmap 1. In terms of our log exports, that has been a major area of contention, but we have been implementing the National Log Export Policy, where persons pay a graduated export commission, a graduated increase on the export commission. And in 2015, this year, we'll be revising that policy for implementation in 2016.
Training was done in sawmilling, timber grading, and other relevant areas. These were geared towards developing more technical capacity at GFC in the sector.
With the help of the Forestry Training Center, we were able to do a lot of training and capacity building, not only for the GFC staff, but for the sector, especially community forestry organizations.
The Commission continued to be vibrant in 2014, contributing significantly to the local economy and encouraging development and growth of investment initiatives in the private sector.
In the year 2014, we have achieved a 21% increase in the production level across all forest products combined, which includes logs, sawn lumber, roundwood, as well as splitwood and plywood. What we also saw similarly is, although log exports also increased in 2014 in terms of export value, and we saw that it moved from a level of $12.4 million for the year 2013 to a total of $24 million, effectively doubling in 2014. We saw that the level of export value for sawn lumber, which includes dressed and undressed lumber, remained at the high level of $19.5 million, which was $19.6 million in 2013.
Even with an increase in log export and production, timber processing and value-added activities continued to be pursued.
We also saw stable employment levels within the sector in 2014. Over the past 5 years, we've seen the level fluctuate between 18,000 to 20,000 persons employed directly at the various aspects of forest sector operation, at the concession level, at the community level, at the added value level, as well as those operators involved in sections of added value like plywood, as well as craft and furniture production.
The Community Forestry and the Social Development Program continued to be of importance to the sector, with over 500,000 hectares of forest allocated directly to community forestry associations.
These are allocated directly to what we call community forestry associations, which are largely bodies that are established under the Friendly Societies Act, thereby providing a governance and decision-making and management structure for these bodies. And through the work of these associations, communities can come together at the community level and conduct sustainable forest management activities in these issued concessions, and thereby providing employment for community members, providing income generating opportunities for community members, as well as opportunities to engage in added value activities, which we're seeing more and more communities are embracing. Additionally, from the more environmental side of our work at GFC, we have seen what has been a remarkable development in the year 2014, which is the completion of the third annual assessment of forest area change under the RED Plus program of Guyana, which is the Reducing Emissions from Deforestation and Forest Degradation program.
Additionally, there were several support activities in the area of RED Plus, which saw stakeholders' engagement intensify.
Having a program that allowed for us to continuously engage stakeholders in building capacity on these newer areas of our work, certainly those that focus on RED Plus as well as related aspects of RED Plus, which my other colleagues will speak about, such as independent forest monitoring, as well as one of our newer endeavors, which is the Forest Law Enforcement Governance and Trade Initiative.
Guyana, we're green, we all strive to be clean, and let's support all the efforts. This is not the task of government, this is not the task of any local authority, this is not the task of your neighbor, it is our task, and we ensure that others do not contribute, as it were, to the litter problem we have in our country.
Stop littering. Do the right thing.
Government assisting miners. Small and medium-scale operators benefit from duty-free access to all-terrain vehicles, or ATVs, excavators, bulldozers, and other machinery used in the mining industry. These waivers on duty are available to new entrants to the sector and for current miners based on production levels. A message from the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission. The Forest Resources Management Division saw tremendous success in achieving its mandate for 2014. Concession holders improved significantly in meeting their sustainable forest management obligations.
2014, we saw 26 annual operational plans being submitted, with 25 of those plans being approved. Additionally to that, 26 forest management plans were also submitted for 2014, with 19 of those plans being approved to date.
As it relates to forest inventory, the Forest Resource Management Division was able to positively address most of the challenges that stakeholders would have encountered in previous years.
We've worked significantly with stakeholders in ensuring that inventoried blocks are submitted, not just the quality, but also the quantity, the amount approved within the AOPs, that they are submitted on time for harvest. Capacity building in relation to inventory remains a key concern, and we have improved and worked with the Forestry Training Center in addressing some of the issues in relation to that.
The Forest Product Development and Marketing Council is an entity that was established in 2009, focusing on product development, marketing, and the promotion of lesser-used species of timber in Guyana.
The year 2014 saw the completion of the Forest 5-year strategic plan that was produced for the Council. During the year 2014, emphasis was placed on expanding the market base for Guyana's forest products. To this end, the Council produced a database of over 600 prospective new customers.
The Council also produced a handbook highlighting the benefits of lesser-used species of timber,
showing the characteristics of those species and the various end-use applications. Towards the end of the year, a seminar was held with governmental officials, because governmental construction consume a significant portion of timber products in the country. So a meeting was held with senior governmental officials, which included permanent secretaries and engineers and people of that caliber, highlighting the need for government projects to incorporate the use of the lesser used species.
The Council also developed profiles for a number of potential products that can be produced in Guyana using timber as the base material.
These products were made available to prospective investors in the industry for them to look at and see how they can incorporate them in their business plans. The profiles range from simple products like cotton rod holders to more sophisticated products like safety matches and mosquito coils, all using wood as the base material.
Garbage is bad news for Guyana. It's bad for health, it's bad for the economy, it's bad for society. Once there's garbage, there are going to be breeding grounds for mosquitoes. Once they're breeding grounds for mosquitoes, there's going to be disease. So the best course of action is not to litter, not to allow garbage to accumulate.
Stop littering. Do the right thing.
Littering says a lot about us and our communities. Litter pollutes our roadsides, blocks our drainage system, leads often to flooding, and even threatens our health and our lives. A clean Guyana is in our hands. Let us work together to eradicate this socially unacceptable form of behavior.
Stop littering. Do the right thing.
With the allocation of over 500 forest concessions in different categories, the GFC monitoring system was structured and strategically placed in such a way as to allow for the effective monitoring of forestry operations.
The GFC monitoring system was structured in such a way to cover the entire country, and more specifically at strategic locations, so that we can monitor the entire country as it relates to forestry operation. Within place 39 forest stations across the country in specific location, strategically located across the country with 10 mobile stations. We managed to monitor concession operations and processing operation, both in an impromptu manner and a planned manner, and a scheduled way. And this served to provide checks and balances and to conduct all these assessments to ensure that concession operators and persons who operate in the sector at the processing level, maybe be at the sawmill or the lumberyard level, they are all complying with the GFC standards. As it relates to the area of forest export, our control systems continue to be very robust, and we do have presence at the inspection site where produce are currently being prepared for export, and also at the wharf where produce are basically loaded in containers and shipped for export.
In 2014, 2 years of independent forest audits were conducted and concluded by the sector.
We are now involved not only monitoring and auditing our forests internally by the Forestry Commission or by the department responsible for monitoring and enforcement, but also we have third parties coming in Guyana to audit our forestry operations, and we successfully completed 2 years of audits and now preparing for a third year of audit. And all in all, the findings and the reports, and these reports are public, shows that we are in line and we're in compliance with sustainable forestry management.
The sector currently has approximately 213 monitoring officers located across Guyana, monitoring forestry activity at all levels.
These activities varies from small operators to large operator. One thing to stress here is that these systems and our enforcement systems and also our requirement as relates to our code of practices for forestry operations go across the board to each operator uniformly and in a transparent way, meaning that each operator, every operator is expected to follow these guidelines, be it a local company or a foreign company, be it a large company or a small company. And of course, we have prescriptions and guidelines for all these operators in a uniform way and a transparent way.
The Forestry Training Center focused mainly on reducing impact logging, which requires the planning of every aspect of timber harvesting.
What we do, we target the people who are in the field every day, the line cutters, the chainsaw operators, the people who build roads, the people who do forest inventory and so on. So we sort of distinguish ourselves from the University of Guyana and the Guyana School of Agriculture that engage in more formal type of forestry education. But to carry out this training, we form partnerships, and we form partnerships with the University of Guyana, the Guyana School of Agriculture, the Guyana Forestry Commission, MACORP, and UNDP, World Wildlife Fund, IWOCRAMA. So we form relationships with these organizations. Most of them are donors, and most of them support training in communities and so on. We do two types of training. We do formal training where we present certificates. And we have one courses lasting from 3 days to 2 weeks. And we present certificates at the end of those training courses. But we also do extension type training where we actually go and help people to do things better. But there's no certificate involved. So we may go to community X, for example, and say, well, look, we are going to do a course on chainsaw maintenance. And in this case, we may work with another partner called Farfan and Mendes.
So far, the center trained 210 persons in 2014.
This training involved most of the University of Guyana, companies like Barama. We also did some training overseas in Suriname because they also utilized our services. In fact, we trained people right across the Caribbean, in Belize, trained at St. Vincent, Grenada. And things have been a bit slow this year because always there's a bit of conflict between production and training. When you need to train the people, you have to take them off of production. And some of the companies, if the weather is not suitable all the time, the companies prefer to try to push for production rather than do training. In 2015, we will do less centralized training at our training center. And we'll actually go to communities, go to forest concessions and do the training there. Originally, we didn't want to do that because we felt that the conditions weren't right, and to train people quickly, you have to get the right conditions. But things have changed drastically on the forest concessions now. Most of them have proper facilities, and so we're going to go to the concessions and to communities to do training. In 2015, we are also going to divert a bit from the reduced impact logging, and we're going to do training in basic wood technology, basic saw milling, and so on. So we target a wider group of persons.
In 2015, GFC will aggressively continue its work. Greater focus will be placed on increasing and improving public education and awareness and dialogue with stakeholders.
In terms of our activities in 2015, we are guided by the National Forest Policy and by ongoing activities, by activities that started not only in 2014, but even before that. So we have prioritized some strategic and thematic areas, and these include increase or enhance local forest product value-added activities, improve production, processing, manufacturing, and export of forest produce, stimulation of greater foreign and local investment in the sector, encourage and monitor investments from existing stakeholders, encourage and increase indirect and direct employment, increased community access to forest resources, continued promotion and enhancement of sustainable forest management, forest monitoring, forest legality, and reduced impact logging, continued training and capacity building at all levels in the sector, market development and promotion, especially including the promotion of lesser used species and revision of the National Log Export Policy, maintaining strong environmental and social guidelines to ensure sustainable forest management, and to maintain our low rate of deforestation and illegal logging. And last but not least, fulfilling our local and international obligations, including activities under the Low Carbon Development Strategy, RED Plus activities, our MOU with Norway, and finalizing the EU FLECT Guyana VPA, etc.
The Ministry of Natural Resources and the Environment will facilitate a performance review of the sector for 2014. This review will focus on the accomplishments of the ministry and its sector agencies and serve as a planning tool for the year 2015. The theme for this year's review, Realization of Progress through Partnerships. The importance of the gold mining sector to Guyana's economy cannot be overemphasized. Since gold has been the largest earner of foreign revenue for the last 7 years, it is in this regard that, given the low gold price on the international market and the resulting impact on low mining operations, the government of Guyana, through the Ministry of Natural Resources and the Environment, and the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, engaged the Guyana Gold and Diamond Miners Association in an effort to bring relief to miners. Minister of Natural Resources and the Environment Robert Persaud, in a meeting with GGDMA, said the ministry supported the request for the waiver of tariffs and duties on equipment and spares, and this was granted by the government and implemented by the Guyana Revenue Authority.
This morning I wanted to focus primarily on what we can do, the type of interventions that we can do to stimulate and to move production out. We've seen that prices have been some level of movement upwards, and I'm just checking to ensure that I'm up to date with what's going on in the market. Yeah. 1237 right now. Which is a positive sign. So we see prices have been moving up since the start of the year primarily, but in the last couple of days. And that is a positive indicator for the sector. And certainly a bit of good news, and we do hope that will be reflected in output. As you know, towards the latter part of last year, we had a number of discussions in terms of interventions we can do, as it were, to help the sector to cushion the impact of an unstable world market price for gold. And given gold's strategic importance to the national economy and the thousands and thousands of people who directly depend on it, our government, we've always placed a lot of emphasis in terms of looking at the support we can provide, whether it's infrastructural, institutional support, looking at other measures. And I think last year, in a general way, was a good year in terms of us being able to reach out and to be responsive to the sector, in terms of being able to finalize the duty-free for the four-door vehicles, making it easier for people to get their matters sorted out through GRA, putting other categories of help, moving in the infrastructural program, making more lands available to the sector, either through lottery or through auction. And so we've been able to do that. So we've looked at how it is we can assist the sector in going directly, in addition to allowing and facilitating the direct importation of fuel for miners. And I know the issue of representation was made in terms of the reduction in taxes associated with fuel. And we're speaking primarily diesel here. And the cabinet at its penultimate meeting last year received a a memorandum that was submitted by me, making a recommendation that there be a reduction of 10% in the taxes associated with fuel, primarily and only diesel in this regard. And I'm happy to say that on the 30th of December, Cabinet agreed and approved that recommendation. But because I was at the time traveling, we could not have had this interaction as such. So we have the Cabinet decision issued, and I think a formal letter was dispatched to the President of the GGDMA, whereby the government has granted a 10% reduction in the taxes associated with the purchase of fuel for use in the mining sector only through the Guyana Gold and Diamond Miners Association Trading Inc., and that's for diesel alone.
President of the GGDMA, Patrick Harding, has expressed appreciation on behalf of all miners to the government of Guyana.
The 10% reduction in the tax on diesel, that stands good for the industry, because our cost of production is about 35–40% of cost of production is fuel, and we mainly use diesel fuel. Now that 10% intervention will help the industry. Our only hope is that the price of fuel also come down, because as you know, the price of fuel on the world market has dropped from over $100 to under $50 a barrel. But we haven't seen that price pass on to the public, not only the miners, to the public. So we hope when that price, hopefully, is passed on.
Government assisting miners. The Ministry of Natural Resources and the Environment and the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission continue to undertake the rehabilitation of hinterland roads and infrastructure to ensure mining lands are easily accessible. In this regard, efforts are being made to implement road monitoring checkpoints to ensure that roads are not used indiscriminately, since this results in its deterioration. A message from the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission. Check us out on the internet for this and every episode of Dorado Shines. Just go to YouTube, search for Dorado Shines, and start watching. Or like us on Facebook and receive instant updates. You've been watching Dorado Shines. Be sure to join us next week for another program to learn more about the performance of the other agencies under the Ministry of Natural Resources and the Environment in 2014. Until then, do remember that we all have a role to play in protecting the environment.